What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 5 best builds in Path of Exile 3.26. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what are their pros and cons, then how do their key mechanics work, then what gear and items should you focus on, then also what are their core passive points and much more. If you are looking for any of these builds on the website for their path of building, then click my link in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM. They are a pro website that provides POE 1 boosting, items and even currency with a cheap price and fast delivery. They have over 17,000 positive comments and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KADE for extra 6% off. So let's start with an overview. This build shines in the in-game content due to its incredible single target burst potential. It's capable of dishing out more than 17 million sustained DPS in a fully optimized setup. Defensively, we are rock solid as we're using the Aegis Aurora that restores energy shield on the block, while armor and spell block will mitigate incoming damage efficiently. Thanks to the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh, we gain the Sanctuary of the Tough Keystone from another Ascendancy, which dramatically reduces mana cost and boosts our energy shield, which perfectly complements our channeling playstyle. Cluster Jewels will further boost our critical scaling and recovery. The key to making this build work will lie in the smart positioning, so lightning tendrils will require you to stand still briefly to ramp up, but when you do, the payoff is enormous. It's a perfect choice for players who enjoy a high risk, high reward caster. Inquisitor's unique ability to ignore resistances on the crit will ensure that our damage remains consistent across all the enemy types. With a strong mana regeneration, high cast speed and solid block base sustain, this build remains fun and deadly in both boss fights and map clearing. The next up for the passive skill tree, we are focusing it on critical strike chance and multiplier, energy shield scaling, mana efficiency and the lightning spell damage. We go through the Templar, Witch and the Shadow sections by picking up key clusters that amplify spell damage, lightning penetration, cast speed and critical effects. Elemental Mastery is used to take advantage of the consistent shock uptime and the high lightning hit rates. Then Divine Shield and the Arcane Capacitator will provide sustain and recovery, while Cluster Jewels will give further crit scaling and utility. The build makes heavy use of the Jewel sockets and the medium to large clusters. The Sanctuary of the Tough granted by the Forbidden Flame and the Flesh is the reason why we go into the upper Witch area, which explains the reason by focusing on mana and energy shield synergy. Then for defensive mechanics, we will rely on the block, spell suppression and the high armor to keep this build durable without sacrificing damage. The next up, when it comes to skill gems, your main source of damage is the Lightning Tendrils of Escalation, which is linked with the Awakened Lightning Penetration, Arcane Surge, increased critical damage, Infused Channeling and the Awakened added lightning damage. This combination provides a ramping channeling power, critical scaling and efficient mana usage. For mobility and offense, the Vaal Smite is paired with the Shield Charge, Fortify and the faster attacks, by granting a very strong movement and adding a defensive buff through the Fortify. The core defensive auras will include Determination for armor, Arctic Armor for mitigation while stationary, then the Tempest Shield for the spell block and the shock immunity, and then finally Precision for the added crit chance and accuracy. Galvanic Fields will add more AoE damage and the shock synergy, linked with the Awakened Elemental Focus, increased critical damage, and even Awakened added lightning damage. Then we have curses like the Conductivity and the Assassin's Mark, which are automated through the Arcanist brand that lets you focus on positioning and casting. Then Molten Shell is triggered with a cast when damage taken for automatic shield. And then finally, the Flame Dash will give us a quick repositioning when needed. Next we have gear. This setup is built around the Fractured Vaal Scepter for the spell and lightning scaling, along with the Aegis Aurora for the block base sustain. The shield provides a massive energy shield buffer on the block, making it ideal for the energy shield build with a high armor. The body armor, gloves, boots and the helmet are rare items that are crafted for the energy shield, strength, intelligence scaling and resistances. Then the Shaper's Touch gloves will enhance both the energy shield and the accuracy through the stat stacking. Then amulets and rings are high-end pieces with the fracture mods for the crit multiplier, lightning scaling and the mana regeneration. The flask setup includes the Rumi's concoction for the block, and a life flask with a bleed immunity, and a sulfured and a basalt flask for damage and survivability. Then jewels like the Watcher's Eye and Forbidden Flame will round out the build nicely, with keystones and aura boost that elevate both damage and sustain. Overall, the gear setup will allow the build to reach over 2 million boss DPS, even before perfect optimization. Next up we have gameplay, and playing this build is all about the rhythm and the timing. You want to position with the shield charge and the flame dash, then lock in and fully channel the lightning tendrils to unleash maximum damage. The alternating buffs from the instruments of the Exile will reward both movement and the stillness, so each phase of combat will become a dance between the casting, dodging and bursting. Use Galvanic Field before big fights to apply shock and boost damage. Then Arcanist Brand will automate curse application by freezing up your focus during intense fights. Then Molten Shell will trigger automatically when damage comes in, by helping us to survive rough hits without relying on a manual use. Overall, bosses will melt quickly, and with a high block and the energy shield sustain, you're far more durable than a typical glass cannon caster. Let's start with an overview, and this version of the Righteous Fire is geared towards being a highly durable mapper, by offering excellent clear speed without compromising defenses. And thanks to the explosive effects granted by the Chieftain's Ascendancy, even the tanky rare monsters and map bosses can be wiped out efficiently. One of the early limitations of this setup is recovery, so until you can stack enough maximum fire resistance, your sustain can feel underwhelming. However, once that resistance base is built, recovery can become almost instant. The primary goal is to stack as much fire resistance as possible, while then the Ascendancy will handle the cold and lightning resistance for you. With this setup, you will be speedrunning through the maps, incinerating enemies while taking little damage for yourself. For tougher enemies, casting the punishment and deploying Fire Trap will enhance your single target damage significantly. And don't forget to stand still while fighting the bosses to fully benefit from the effect of the Ramako, the Sun's Light. Overall, this build is incredibly League starter friendly and can scale all the way to the endgame. Now let's talk about leveling, and as alphas know, if this is your first character, then you will want to create a witch and take her to level 4. This will allow you to get access to more important gems early on, so complete the Breaking Some Eggs and the Medicine Chest quest to unlock these. The key gems you will purchase will include the Rolling Magma, Elemental Proliferation Support, Frost Blink, Flame Wall, Summon Phantom Support and the Holy Flame Totem. Your initial setup will involve Rolling Magma linked with the Elemental Proliferation, and then later the Combustion Support. Flame Wall is great for adding burning damage early, and the Holy Flame Totem linked with the added fire damage and the Summon Phantoms will give that extra offense and utility. Make sure to pick up Determination, Vitality and Purity of Elements as soon as they become available. These auras will significantly enhance your survivability. Then Frostblink will remain your mobility skill through the leveling. And then in Act 3, switch to the Flammability for curses, and then later replacing it with the Punishment. And then finally, after the library quest, you can consider moving to the Armageddon brand for faster clear speed if you want to. Next up we have the skill tree, and the layout is focused around the high life, fire damage, regeneration and resistances. At around level 90 to 95, the tree pushes heavily into the Marauder and the Templar areas. With over 250 strength, your fire damage gets a significant boost due to the chieftain scaling. The key nodes will focus on burning damage and the elemental resistance, while the small cluster jewels are used to enhance aura effectiveness, particularly the Malevoyance. Armor is also prioritized over evasion or energy shield, by providing the best mitigation for a build that stands in the melee range. Then the block chance and spell blocks are supplemented for further defenses. The tree supports the core idea of the Righteous Fire, which is a build that survives its own burning damage while using the same burn to obliterate enemies in seconds. The core damage scaling of our build is split into a bunch of categories. So first we have maximum life, which directly affects the burning damage. This makes the high life rolls on gear crucial. However, remember that life does not scale your fire trap damage, so modifiers like the fire damage over time multiplier and burning damage are still important to maintain. So pretty much we will have to play this type of balanced game between these both forms of scaling. Then, when it comes to skill gems, the setup is fully tuned for the most optimized setup. The Righteous Fire is linked with the Awakened Elemental Focus, Awaken Increased AoV Effect, Awaken Burning Damage, Life Tap and the Swift Affliction, by providing a potent blend of aerial damage, burning efficiency and the sustainability. Then Fire Chop runs on Awaken Swift Affliction, Life Tap and the Chop and Mine damage, which gives us a strong supplemental damage and a single target pressure. Then for utility, the Tempest Shield and the Flesh and Stone will enhance both defense and utility, so Tempest Shield will grant block chance and shock immunity, while the Flesh and Stone will provide blind and the damage reduction. Then the Malevoyance, Purity of Life and Summon Skitter Boots will boost our damage over time and the elemental resistances, making them the core to this build's aura strategy. The Shield Charge and the Frost Blink will give us a smooth movement across maps, letting us stay mobile in dangerous situations. Then the Blood Rage will add extra attack speed and the Frenzy Charge generation, while the Punishment will boost damage against the low life enemies. Then Enduring Cry provides instant life regeneration and Endurance Charge generation, which makes it crucial for surviving during heavy incoming damage. These skills will work in the harmony to create a smooth, resilient gameplay that lets you focus on the movement and the fire damage while maintaining a robust defenses. Next we have gear. Your helmet should be a high armor elder base with a burning damage and a concentrated effect support. By using Harvest Reforged Life, it will help with these modifiers, and then later upgrade to the Archdemon Crown for additional gem levels. The amulet we should focus on is life, damage over time multiplier and resistances. Then bases like the turquoise, jade or the marble amulet are useful, depending on your attribute needs. Then Cloak of Flame is your ideal chest piece due to its physical damage mitigation. Alternatives like the lightning coil can work, but require more resistant balancing. For gloves, the pure armor base with a high life regen, which can be up to 21%, are ideal, and they are great for additional chaos resistance and dexterity. Use Exarched Influence to get Ignite Proliferation for clear. Then your boots should have a 30% movement speed, high life and regeneration. Then Annihilation Approach is a strong endgame option. Then belts offer the highest source of flat life regen. Then Immortal Flesh is a great early option, and later you can craft an Elder Stygian Vice. Then Ring should cover life, resistances and chaos resistance. I recommend to consider crafting with the Essences of Delirium for damage. Then weapons will need the fire damage over time multiplier, then the flat fire damage increase, and +1 to fire spell gems if possible. Shields like the Rise of the Phoenix and the Dawnbreaker are excellent early choices, but you can aim for a rare Shaper Shield with a percentage life recovered on a block for the best recovery. Next up we have gameplay, and it is very straightforward. You want to activate Righteous Fire at the start of each zone, as it remains active until you leave the area, so you will need to toggle it once in a while. You want to move around by using the Shield Charge for fast mapping or the Frost Blink for more precise dodging and repositioning. Then use curses like the Flammability or the Punishment on blue and rare packs to amplify their damage taken and softening them up for your burning aura. Against tougher bosses, you want to job the Fire Chop repeatedly and either way circle the enemy or stand your ground to benefit fully from the Rakamo, the Sun's Light, which significantly will boost your damage when you're standing still. Timing Frost Blink through the enemies can chill them and help to avoid telegraphs with a high damage hits. Alternatively, you can kite them along the edge of your Righteous Fire radius to minimize the incoming damage while still burning them steadily. This version of the Archmage Vortex build focuses around the Transfigured Frost Blast, specifically the Wind Ripper Blast variant. By removing the cooldown and scaling the skill with a cast speed, this setup will turn you into a spell machine that melts screens with ease. Normal and magic mobs barely will stand a chance, and the real power comes when you stack this with the Vortex of Projection for elite and boss encounters. Vortex explodes from the Frostbolt projectiles instead of being cast on your character, which massively increases your area coverage and letting you safely control the large packs at range. I tested Kitava's Thirst as a trigger, but despite its automatic potential, it lacked defenses and had an awkward projectile behavior that often made it unbearable. Instead, I chose a more consistent and flexible approach that puts the control in your hands. The synergy with the shrine effects is one of the highlights of the build, as once you grab the Echo of Acceleration shrines, your character starts moving and casting so fast that it feels more like playing a flicker shock with spells. This build is highly responsive, mobile, and extremely fun to play in a fast-paced environment. Bossing is also solid too. Either way, if you're pushing through Delirium, fighting tanky rares, or facing multiple bosses, then overlapping damage over time effects and rapid projectile coverage make sure that nothing stays alive for long. Then next we got our skill tree, and it has been optimized to address early dexterity challenges, scale spell damage and improve survivability through suppression and recovery. I started by using careful planning to convert intelligence into dexterity, which allowed me to run grace without needing the awkward ring swaps. With this javel in place, you're able to drop precision and free up points previously spent on the practical application. Those free points now instead can be allocated towards spell suppression, like reflexes and other minor suppression clusters, which significantly improve our overall defenses. I also took devotion and other helpful minor nodes as I progressed to level 90, which gave me enough flexibility to fully round out the tree. The core remains centered around the mana scaling and critical strike chance, both of which are essential to maintaining uptime and a burst. Mana regeneration is high enough that I rarely run into issues, though I still include some reduced mana cost of skills to smooth out the heavy spam situation. Critical strike chance is capped at 100% with the right setup, especially with increased critical strike support. Then cooldown recovery is converted with 14% from belt, though you can bypass this early if you use the Awaken cast on crit gem. And lastly, accuracy is solved by using the hits can be evaded mod, which ensures that we always connect. Next up we have our skill gems. The main link is centered around the Cyclone, which serves as a trigger for our cast on critical strike combo. Vortex of Projection is the core damage spell, and it's linked with increased critical strikes, increased critical damage and the Archmage to scale both crit and the mana base power. The synergy between these gems make clearing smooth and bossing surprisingly effective. For Frostbolt we run it inside the Kitava's Thirst with greater multiple projectiles, Archmage and Inspiration. This setup enables the projectile to serve as the anchor of the Vortex explosions, giving us a massive coverage and a damage layering. Utility skills like the Arcane Cloak are linked with the automation, increase duration and enhance to provide burst damage and additional defenses. We also use Sigil of the Power, linked with either way increased aerial coverage or the Wrath depending on the needs, and even supported by the Eternal Blessing to fit into the Aura setup. Then Assassin's Mark is auto-applied with the Mark on hit, and the Flame Dash will handle the movement. For Auras, Prism Guardian will support the Zealotry, Determination and the Vaal Discipline by giving us massive offense, armor and even recovery. Next up we have gear. Your gear setup is built to support a hybrid cold damage over time and cast speed crit build. You're running dual profane wands and one which is custom crafted to stack mana regeneration and the spell damage. This lets you maintain uptime in boss fights while also dishing out heavy damage. The centerpiece is Aziris Fibly. It's hard to beat in terms of mana sustain, and with a Mind Drinker Anoint it adds quality of life through the mana on kill and regen. Your chest is necrotic armor, while your boots and gloves will focus on evasion, spell suppression and mobility. The Algar Mortis gloves in particular are a huge damage boost whenever enemies are in the chilling ground, which makes them perfect for your vortex setup. Rare rings will provide mana, chaos res, life and resistances. Then Stygian Vice belt will further support this with a solid roll and room or a powerful hypnotic eye javel. Then the flask setup includes divine life, mana, jade, quartz and silver, giving you sustain, dodge, pacing and speed. And then for our javels, they're top tier, including the Unnatural Instinct, Militant Fate and the Watcher's Eye and even others. Together, they will improve aura stacking, cast speed, mana efficiency and the layering defenses. Next up, let's go over the gameplay. This build feels fast, fluid and incredibly satisfying. You'll be constantly spinning with the Cyclone, triggering vortexes from your Frostbolt, and melting enemies before they can even reach you. Movement is smooth thanks to the high evasion and spell suppression, and the mana sustain is strong enough to support aggressive play. When the shrine effects are active, the gameplay will kick things into overdrive. With the Echo and Acceleration shrines, you will be tearing through the packs with a speed that feels borderline broken. In boss fights, the layering from the vortex explosions combined with the dot from chilling will make even the tanky enemies go down fast. Overall, this build rewards smart positioning, pre-firing frostbolts into choke points or packs, and knowing when to drop the Sigil of Power or even trigger the Arcane Cloak. It's reactive but powerful, and once you get the rhythm, it becomes one of the most fun mapping builds available in the game. So, the Poison SRS Necromancer is a minion build that focuses on scaling poison damage through rapidly summoning spirits. You will summon these flaming skulls, and instead of relying on a raw hit damage, we will convert their attacks into poison using the golden rule and a chance to poison mechanics. Because you are summoning multiple spirits per second, poison stacks ramp up incredibly fast and the bosses simply melt. The entire strategy centers around flooding enemies with these spirits and applying layers of poison over time. Each skull is expandable, meaning that they don't need to survive or deal massive hits, they just need to apply poison, and we make sure they do that dozens of times per second. This build has smooth map clear, incredible boss potential, and surprisingly strong defenses. With Grace and Determination auras, block chance from the Aegis aura, and a solid life pool, you're tankier than the most summoners. And since the minions do all the heavy lifting, you get to focus on movement, positioning, and staying alive. Now let's start with our leveling setup, and right from the start we will go with the summoning raging spirits and the minion damage. In the early acts, you're not poisoning yet, you're just running basic minion damage setup, so add melee splash to help with the pack clearing, and unleash as soon as it's available to make the summoning smoother. At level 18, start to use the chance to poison, and make sure to keep leveling the Withering Step, Despair and the Herald of Agony, even if you're not using them, as they will become important very soon. Then in Act 3, pick up Desecrate and Offering skills, and by Act 5 you will start feeling a big power bump, as Unleash and a chance to poison will come online fully. Then by level 50 or so, start to swapping fully into the poison scaling. You'll need to equip the Golden Rule Jewel. It causes poison on you to mirror onto enemies, and start picking up minion poison and the chaos damage on your passive tree. And also start getting ready, as from this point, the build will start to ramp up super hard. And now finally, let's take a look at the endgame setup. You should now be using a +2 wand or +1 chaos, +1 minion wand with a high cast speed. If you're feeling fancy, then go for trigger wand with multiple skill automation. Your helmet should be a +2 to SRS helm, with life and resistances. Best case scenario is to craft one with the Essence of Insanity base to get minion movement speed, which will make your skulls fly to targets even faster. Then cluster jewels are also essential here, so you want 2 medium clusters with a minion deal additional chaos damage, and you can even go for a large cluster with a Call to Slaughter or Feasting Friends for more damage. Don't forget the Unholy Might uptime, as it adds a ton of chaos DPS. Then the Aegis Aurora will remain the best in slot, but if you prefer spell suppression focused setup, then you could experiment with a rare shield or +1 to minion shields. Both of them will work as long as you can cap or block suppression. Your curse setup should now be Despair plus the temporal chains, which are both automated. This gives longer poison duration and better uptime on your chaos scaling. Use the Essence support that scales their effect if you want to go full curse build. You're also aiming for the level 28 to 30 SRS with Empower 4, Helmet Enhanced and the gem level scaling. This absolutely shreds any boss in the game, especially combined with the Withering stacks from the Withering Step or utility skeletons. In short, by the endgame, this build is a green cloud of death. You flood the screen with poison spirits that stack damage instantly and melt everything in your path. It feels amazing and stays safe the whole way through. And now finally, let's go over the gameplay. For boss fights, the opener is simple and effective, so dash in, use the Withering Step to apply debuffs, then pop the wall skeletons for the extra pressure, and then cast Despair, and then start rapidly summoning the raging spirits. Your role is to stay mobile, keep the flask up and avoid incoming mechanics, while the minions will handle all the damage. You don't need to stand still, you move, summon, repossession and let the stacking poison do the work. It's a fast-paced loop that rewards awareness and a rhythm. In maps, the playstyle is even smoother. You dash through the packs, cast few SRS and keep moving. Poison ticks after the hit, so enemies will often die shortly after the contact, which allows you to keep momentum without waiting for kills. This makes the build feel fast and safe, especially with how aggressively your minions seek out the targets. What really sets this build apart is its consistency in the high juice content. Poison does not care about the monster's life scaling, it just stacks and kills, so if you're in Delirium, Legion or the Blight, then this build holds up extremely well. You will apply poison fast, stack damage over time and then reposition, before the targets reach you. Casting SRS is instant, so you're rarely locked in place. With a high summon rate and good gear scaling, you can keep multiple spirits up while moving. Then your support tools like the Wall Skeletons, Withering Step and Despair will layer into your damage and control, without overcomplicating the rotation. It feels fluid and rewarding, and best of all, this build scales well without needing insane gear. Gem levels, modest rares and proper support links will carry all of the weight. And once you learn the rhythm, dash, summon, repeat, it becomes a smooth and reliable league starter that transitions into early high endgame content.